Hey, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today is it seems like Michael Thomas and his name is really starting to get the respect that it deserves across the NFL. And, the former and current players that I talk to, and you start coming up with the conversations of the best receiver in the NFL. Now, it finally seems like he is getting his due and being put in that class as far as the elite receivers in the NFL, if not the best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's impossible to ignore what he's done the last couple of years. I think one of my favorite stats about Michael Thomas is that he ranks second in the NFL in history for receptions by a player in his first 5 seasons, and he's played 4 seasons. So he's probably going to pass Jarvis Landry on that list in the first game or 2 next year. Guy's just an unreal competitor. I don't think anybody's ever seen a player as productive as he's been this early in his career. And I think the thing that really separates him, the thing that makes him so good, is he has that mentality where all these people who are starting to put respect on his name and start to think that he's the greatest out there, he's going to find the people that don't feel that way, and he's going to be driven by it. And I think a lot of the great players that you see are motivated by stuff like that. He has that Aaron Rodgers, Michael Jordan-esque looking for people who are detractors or who are saying this and that and using that to fuel his greatness.
Luke, you mentioned those statistics, and you termed it productivity, which is correct. Or if you wanted to frame it negatively, you could call it a workload. And it was so great because the Saints didn't have a ton of other options. With the free agent acquisitions, with going to get Troutman in the draft, do you expect Michael Thomas's numbers to dip a little bit by design next year, or is he still going to get just about every target?
You just look at everything they have, and it'd be really hard for me to see Mike Thomas getting 190 or 200 targets like he did last year, whatever the number was. I think it was kind of out of necessity last year that they had to kind of force feed him the ball, because outside of Jared Cook for that 8-week stretch, they really didn't have anybody who could hurt you in the passing game. And despite that, and despite teams knowing that the Saints were going to be throwing to Michael Thomas, they were able to do it anyways. It was pretty much automatic. I just don't think that it's going to be as much of a necessity this year. Maybe that opens things up for him to have a little bit more of a role in the downfield game, and they don't have to just kind of use him to move the chains as much as they did. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to be awesome in this offense. I think a full season Jared Cook with Drew Brees would be huge. Don't sleep on Alvin Kamara in the passing game. Obviously, the guy's got 81 catches each of his 3 years. They have so many different weapons that can hurt you in different ways in the passing game. I just don't think they're going to have to rely on Mike the way they have been in the last couple of years.
Luke Johnson is our guest here on Hangin with Hester. Luke, what about Adam Troutman, a guy drafted out of Dayton? We had him on the show, very sharp young man, and seems like they have a real plan in place for him. He goes to Mobile, stars at the Senior Bowl, shows that he can handle that level of competition. Can you see him making a big impact his rookie year?
Man, it's really tough. I think rookie tight ends are just it's really hard for those guys to come in and make a really big impact their rookie year. You look at the 2 rookies from the first round last year, both of them were receiving tight ends, and T.J. Hawkinson and Noah Fant. And neither of those guys had really big years, but I think the ceiling's really high on those guys, and they're kind of going to be expected to be big parts of the passing game. I really, really like Troutman. I think he's kind of a rarity in today's college football, NFL, where you're looking at like a true inline tight end, a guy who can impact the game in multiple ways. I think you see a lot of tight ends coming out now. They're basically just big slot receivers. I think he can do a little bit of that. He had a huge year in his last year at Dayton, but I think they can use him in a little bit more of a traditional way, and they can put him on the field with Jared Cook and give them a little bit of versatility with their offensive sets there. I just wouldn't expect him to go out and catch 50 balls for 700 yards with a couple touchdown catches. I think they're going to kind of work him in slowly in that regard.
Luke Johnson talking Saints here on Hangin with Hester. Obviously, I think everyone believes that the Saints got a tremendous value in getting Bone there in the 3rd round, maybe even 4th round. Was it 3rd? Third round.
Yeah, it was third round.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the linebacking core with Davis and Anzalone and how that looks.
Yeah, I think they have potential to be really, really good, but right now it's just potential, I think. We still don't know exactly what Bond's going to be. He had a huge year at Wisconsin, but they used him a lot off the edge, and the Saints aren't planning on using him that way, so he's still a little bit of a mystery. Anzalone, when he's healthy, I think is a very good NFL linebacker, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. I think he's only played something even close to a full season since he's been in the league, and he battled injuries while he's at Florida too. I think Kiko Alonso has been a very good linebacker for a number of years, but obviously he's coming off that injury in the playoff game, and this is, I think, his third ACL injury of his career. So they could be really, really good. Demario Davis, I think, is vastly underrated. I think he's a top 5 linebacker in the NFL. But they could also be a unit that's got guys hurt and banged up, and that's what happened last year. They were really deep at linebacker, and then they ended up having to play Craig Robertson and Stephon Anthony in the middle of the year. So I think it's going to be wise to kind of take a wait-and-see approach at that linebacker core.
Luke, one of the things that's amazing to me is how they've turned a negative as far as their offensive and defensive line into a very big positive. And when you look at their offensive line, and I know that Ruiz out of Michigan was just drafted and he was a center. Now he's going to transition to guard. But on paper, the offense and defensive fronts for the New Orleans Saints football team look really, really strong.
Oh, man. I think that you can look at their last 3 seasons of success and you can point to those guys. Obviously, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas and Drew Brees and Marshawn Lattimore have played a huge role in that. But if you look at the successful teams in the NFL, they're teams that win in the trenches, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And the Saints are in such a good position where they felt comfortable cutting a guy who just made 3 consecutive Pro Bowls in Larry Warford. I think their tackle duo is probably the best in the NFL when both are healthy. I think Andres Pete is probably underrated by the fan base. A lot of people don't like him, but I think he's a solid left guard. Eric McCoy was awesome as a rookie. And then you look at their defensive line, Cam Jordan is one of the league's best. I think Marcus Davenport, when he's healthy, and again, that's an asterisk, but he has the potential to be a really good pass rushing defensive end. Their combination of David Onyemata and Malcolm Brown was really good last year, and then they got depth behind him. I mean, Sheldon Rankins, whenever he gets healthy, it could be a rotational piece for them. He was playing at a Pro Bowl level a couple of years ago. I just think that offensive and defensive lines have played such a huge, underrated role in the Saints' success the last 3 years. They're the reasons why, or a big reason why the team has won more games than any other team in the last 3 years.
All right, Luke, real quick, we do have a question coming in. The Bayou Ford Huddle wants to know, when did you aspire to become Gardner Minshew?
As soon as I couldn't leave home and people couldn't see my face in public. That's when. Yeah, I'll share a picture on Twitter every now and then just because I think it's funny. But I really do look stupid with a mustache, and as soon as I can go out in public and show my face at a bar again, I don't think I'm going to be wearing one.
Well, it looks better than Hunt's beard if it makes you feel better.
Ooh, that was a rough stretch.
Well, it's really not saying much though.
That is very true. Hey, Luke, it's always a pleasure, man. We appreciate you hopping on with us for a couple minutes.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.